All right, everybody, this is Greg O'Brien, our church planter in Downingtown/Exton, PA at Christ Church Downingtown. Welcome, Greg.
Thank you for having me, Dave.
Greg, you have been on the field for about a year and a half, and it was probably about 2 years ago that your family was out. We were getting to know you in the process of calling you here, but there's still a lot of people who haven't met you yet. And so I was wondering if you could tell us very briefly where you come from before you became an OPC church planter.
Yeah, sure. I'm from Austin, Texas, born and raised, big Texas Longhorn fan. Went to the University of Texas, and that's where the Lord really started to work in significant ways in my life. It was on a short-term mission trip to Mexico with a church I had started going to most Sundays, and I got to see what it was like to serve the Lord wholeheartedly, I think, for the first time in my life, and that was just deeply impactful. Ended up being part of what the Lord used to, I think, call me into ministry. After college, went with my church overseas to East Asia and served as a missionary for 2 years. Came back, went to seminary in Boston, and then was ordained in the PCA. Wanted to go back to East Asia and serve again, and we did for roughly 5 years, and came back, served as a pastor in Northwest Alabama in my wife's hometown, which is a great experience, and had a desire to go to a less reached place where there is a greater need for churches that are solidly rooted in the scriptures and able to make the gospel known clearly. I think as we see churches drifting these days into further and further away from the gospel, I think the need for planting more churches that really grasp the gospel or are grasped by the gospel is great. So that's what our passion was. That's what we wanted to do in coming here, and got to meet you in the process and become a part of this presbytery, which has been a great blessing. So.
Well, we are delighted to have you. You mentioned your family, but you haven't given us the rundown. So tell us a little, just again briefly, about Ginger and the kids.
All right, yeah, married. Ginger and I met in Austin. We have 4 kids. Jude is 10, Crosby is 8, Audrey is 5, and Matthew is 3. And one's playing violin over there, you can hear that. One's probably running around naked behind me. So yeah, that's our family.
And what's your first impression of life in the Downingtown area?
Life in Downingtown, love it. I mean, it is a very easy place to live in a lot of ways. We enjoy it here. Living in China and then coming here, there's a big difference. Much easier in a lot of different ways, and we've been blessed with where we live too. Just look out at a lot of trees here, and it's a beautiful scenery versus pollution in China, and so we're blessed to be here. In terms of, I grew up in Texas, my wife grew up in Alabama, and I think this is kind of a middle ground from our 6 years in Boston and then in the South. I was just talking about that with somebody from here the other day. The Bostonians maybe a little bit more cold and not as warm. There's still warmth here, so we got used to the Bostonian way of life, but people are kind, friendly, and easier to talk to maybe than up in Massachusetts. So in a lot of ways, we feel like this is home, and enjoy it.
Good. Amen. We're delighted to have you around. Look forward to hearing a lot more from you over the years.